move with these bills. We're tracking that story very closely and we'll bring you some updates as soon as we get them. Now to our main conversation on the show this evening. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has fully certified the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, and the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Speaking recently during the presentation of certificates to the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria in Abuja, Managing Director of FAN, Olubunmi Kuku, said the country's aerodrome certificates have not been active since 2020. Mrs. Kuku said achieving this recertification is not just remarkable, but a vital step in enhancing the aviation infrastructure, which has long been overdue, adding that the accomplishment is a clear indication of the sector's commitment to providing a safe and efficient air travel experience for all. She says some of the country's runways and airfield lighting systems require further attention to meet the ICAO standards fully, adding that it's crucial that the country continues to prioritize these improvements in order to enhance safety.
FAN is taking a bigger and a bolder approach to the infrastructure. But I do want you to be patient with us because the decay has been left for so long where it's not going to be an overnight change. What we've been doing is to make the airports and the terminals specifically to be habitable for the users while we work on these upgrades. You heard about 91 airstrips, you heard about 31 airports. I mean, imagine what South Africa is doing today. I believe Oliver Tambo, the investment in the airport is over $1 billion just this year. We can't afford to do that, and it means that we need to look at our high priority airports. You did hear Lagos, Abuja, Kano and Port Harcourt on the domestic side. On the international side, Lagos, Abuja and Kano. Immediate focus, while we then look at our secondary airports, let's make sure it's safe, let's make sure it's habitable. What is required to turn those around is probably a lot more minimal than the rest.
Let's talk about aerodrome safety, the recertification, as well as other issues arising within the aviation sector. I'm joined by former General Manager, Public Affairs, FAN, Yakubu Datti. Mr. Datti, thank you for joining us on the program this evening. He's wearing many caps. He's former commissioner in Plateau. We'll probably be talking about that in the course of the program. But a lot is happening within the aviation sector. Some significant achievements that we've seen in a few months. Nigeria's removal, for instance, from the global watch list last October. There is now the recertification of the Lagos and Abuja international airports. What do they mean for the country's aviation sector?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. First and foremost, it means that there is a rebound in the aviation sector, especially in the area of the growth of the airport industry. The new helmsman, who is a lady, and I must say for the first time, we are having a lady as the managing director, chief executive.
What a man can do, a woman can do
better. And so within such a short time, in fact, of just barely 11 months, she has been able to get this in the kitty, the recertification of 2 airports, which was not done for more than 4 years ago, the putting Nigeria on the global aviation map. For instance, she received 2 awards at the ACI Airport Council International Conference in South Africa just last quarter of the year. And by that recognition, she was also made a board chairman of Africa region of the Airport Council International. So all these are achievements within such a short time for somebody who is coming into a male-dominated industry. But her training in finance and also being not a novice in the aviation sector assisted so much because she came with a focus, with a direction.
Do you think this is a sign that we should take the affirmative action more seriously?
Yeah, how else can you see that? Because we are talking about somebody who is talking with action. You know, they say action speaks louder than words. And just like the clip you are seeing, it's we just had a workshop, of the Aviation Roundtable, which had a seminar today, a discussion forum where all the think tanks of the aviation sector came together to share ideas. And she was there in person, in fact, the Holy Chief Executive. And that shows she's always putting her foot on the ground to ensure that...
I'm looking at the figures now. Nigeria's score on the Cape Town Convention Compliance Index moved from 70 to 75%. Prior to this time, it was 30-something.
Yeah.
And that's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
And we saw the official removal of Nigeria from the AWG was watch list of non-compliant countries. But let us break it down if we can. What do you consider the key factors driving this change?
Well, the key factors are the issues surrounding safety and security, because safety is number one when it comes to running airports. And that is why the umbrella universal regulator of airports, ICAO, always emphasizes on the issue of safety. And shortly on assumption of office, within 1 week in office, the managing director has signed the safety protocol and also has been able to train, from what I heard, about 1,400 staff, 2,000 man-hours of training in the areas of safety for both staff and stakeholders. Now, aviation is a regulated industry, and it operates based on the technicalities of training. And when you talk about people, you are talking about an airport where what is key is people, process, and procedure. You have the people, they need the process, they need the technology, and that's where training comes in. So prioritizing training has been able to make our work easier, and in such a short time, the early fruits are already dropping for everybody to see, and to the celebration and acclaim of everybody.
This airport recertification, I understand, is anchored on the principles established by the International Civil Aviation Organization.
Yeah.
And it involves a rigorous assessment of facilities, including runway conditions, airfield lighting systems, and what have you. But as we speak now, we're talking about recertification for 2 airports. There are about 6 or 7 international airports here. Are we saying it's just 2 out of 7 that have the certification? And what does that say about how we're faring holistically?
No, what it means, there are other airports that are ongoing, because it's a long process. And she inherited the process and has been able to cap 2 airports. Now, that of Kano Airport, Port Harcourt Airport, Enugu Airport are ongoing. And very soon, they are going to join the fray. She's also looking at the issue of ensuring that we upgrade the status of the airports to a Cat 2 category. Now, all that requires putting certain infrastructure that is necessary for that categorization and for that qualification. And so we believe that with what has happened in just 1 year being in office, trying to put together, trying to put our experience in coordinating and collaborating with different agencies to be able to achieve that. Because it takes teamwork, and it takes somebody who is ready to be able to accommodate different opinions to be able to run a system as massive as the airport. As the managing director, she sits over all the 27 federal airports in Nigeria. And the funding to run those airports are coming from barely 2 or 3 airports. So to be able to, it requires a lot of multitasking to be able to put that together and run such a massive system that is driven by about 10,000 staff of the authority.
So we have said a lot of good things about the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, the female MD. I'm sure the minister is also quite pleased with what is happening under his leadership. But let us flip the page so that their head doesn't swell too much. Because the whole essence of occupying this position is to better, the quality of experience that the average Nigerians have. We're going to be talking about that shortly. Let's take a break, and we'll be back with more. Stay with us, everyone.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty, erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Former General Manager, Public Affairs, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, Yakubu Datti, is here with me in the studio. Thank you for staying the course on the program. We're looking at some issues now that has to do with how we can improve on what has already been done and what can be done differently. The fact that the presentation of the certificates, for instance, is not an indication that the airports are 100% compliant with safety standards. What this means is compliance with minimum certification and what they call acceptable corrective action plan. What must be done now to achieve sustainability, and who's measuring this progress?
Well, basically what must be done to achieve sustainability is training. And that, like I mentioned earlier, has already been put in. And for the first time, even the aviation training school in Lagos has been upgraded into an ICAO standard school where you have instructors coming in. In fact, I learned that in the next few weeks, you will have aspiring aviators coming in from neighboring African countries for training. So basically, it's training, training, and training. Because whatever facilities you have, whatever technology you deploy, you need the manpower. And you need manpower that is adequately educated enough, trained to be able to run it. So that is why the emphasis has been on training. And I believe with that ongoing, is going to make for sustainability of it. And don't also forget that we are just not looking at the 2 airports. We are looking at the other 3 international airports, that is Kano, Port Harcourt, Enugu, where the process had already began quite a long time ago. So we're going, as they fine-tune simultaneously, they were also going to ensure that they cover up the gaps that were identified to be able to achieve maximal capacity.
Precisely, what does this mean for the flying public?
What it means for the flying public is that a lot of confidence is being restored in our airports. It also means that for airline operators or practitioners in the industry, especially the business persons, insurance will now be cheaper to access because it means we are confirming. Thirdly, it also is going to boost activity in the airport because in more international airports or key players will begin to give recognition to Nigerian aviation sector, and which means more funding will come. And that will also channel into the $1 trillion national economic target being set by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
You didn't say anything about the cost of flying.
Well,
so passengers can't anticipate anything coming down, sir.
Well, with what is being put in on ground, you know, because the cost of tickets is there are a lot of factors that leads to it. The jet air fuel, for instance, is a major cost because fueling is about 40% of the cost of running a flight. So with Dangote on the flow, Port Harcourt refineries and others that are gradually coming upstream, we believe that the cost will come down because with that being done, it's going to substantially affect the ticketing.
Now, the airline operators of Nigeria have raised a huge concern about what they call inadequate number of air traffic controllers in the industry, and they've said that this development poses safety threat. What's your take on this issue, and how do you think it can be addressed?
Well, it brings us back to the issue of training, like we have said. Because what it means is you have the staff, but you need training to upgrade them. And that is why with the new school that has been accredited here, it will offer opportunities. Because until now, most of the certified trainings had to do with going overseas. And you know, with the exchange rate, it's not easy for the agencies to be able to afford to do that. So now you are looking at a situation where the cost of training one person will be achievable to train almost 30 or 40 people here locally in Nigeria. So I think this will also cure that malady that is in the industry.
They say they now have to recall retired air traffic controllers. That's not a sustainable solution, right?
That's not a sustainable solution, but don't also forget that we have the aviation school in Zaria that is also feeding into the aviation market, in the aviation sector. Because of the exchange rate, the cost of training manpower internationally is so high that it's not easy for individuals to be able to do that. Before, it's easy for people to send their children to go and acquire that. But for now, the line is thinning up, and that is why we need to look inwards. And that is why what we celebrate about the President Tinubu economy is that encourages us to look inwards. Now, it now means that there is an opportunity that in itself presents a business opportunity for private sector to begin to see creating a school that train aviators as a business concern that can be profitably run, because there is a desire there.
We've talked about the infrastructure, and it's improving, no doubt. But let's discuss quality of service and consumer rights. The issue of delayed flights, cancelled flights, the huge disappointments that the flying public experience with some of these operators. We've heard the government made some huge statements in this regard. Some have said they are mere political statements. How do you think we can bridge that gap, and what's been done right now?
Well, for one, I'm sure that it is clear that people who are following in the industry will know that there's been massive improvement. The fact that even where local airlines are being strengthened and encouraged, for that we give kudos to the Honorable Minister. You can see that Air Peace started flying to UK, and they're exploring other areas. So all that is for us to begin to look outwards and to begin to improve the capacity of our local players to be able to play out. And the combination of these factors are factors that were relied on heavily on overseas training. But now we are beginning to look inwards to be able to ensure that we achieve those capacities that are required in the industry within our local area.
You were a former commissioner for Land and Survey in Plateau State.
Yes.
So let's talk about Plateau for a while. Producers, you might have to change the straps.
Yeah.
There are lots happening now, but I want us to begin with security. Just yesterday, there was a story about 10 people kidnapped in a community. We've seen Governor Mutfwang himself have his own episodes of huge security challenges. What do you think is the issue here? Because this defiles who is governor or which party is in power. It's been a recurrent issue. What do you think is the source of this crisis?
Well, the source of this crisis is multiple in nature. Some people mention the issue of land, some mention the issue of insurgents, some even mention the issue of terrorism. But the most importantly is to begin to look at ways to which we can ameliorate the situation. And we are happy that the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, is being able to come together to create a roadmap that not only answers the insecurity in Plateau, but also the Boko Haram menace in Borno, the IPOP problem in the east, all across the country, because it's a holistic approach that has to do with running a coordinated security infrastructure and also being able to beef up in terms of training, in terms of intelligence gathering and sharing, and also in terms of empowering the local vigilantes, the hunters, and indeed the community leaders to be able to share information on time so that the necessary security authorities will be able to take the necessary steps required to be able to nip these uprisings in the bud.
Communal clashes are a thing in Plateau. At some point, it was the governor's local government and a neighboring town. You know, I mean, the governor's town and a neighboring town that was experiencing this recently. You were commissioner of lands
and information, and
information. Did you do anything to resolve this land issue as commissioner? What did you leave undone? What do you think should be done right now?
Well, I think basically it has to do is an ongoing effort, because don't forget that when issues come in, after a while, other people come in who benefit from the crisis. You know, they begin to come in, and before you know it, you even lose sight of what you are trying to resolve. Most of the people in Plateau, the Fulanis, the natives, have lived together for hundreds of years. In fact, they bear names. It will surprise you to know that even the Gbongonjos, he has a name called Buba, which was given to him by a Fulani. So it means the history of our people goes hundreds of years. So people begin to ask, why now? Why the issues now? Already there were traditional ways of resolving issues where if the cows go into the farmlands, there are communities leaders, the Ardos, that sit together and resolve the issue and give a fine. But we are beginning to hear reports of certain people who are not resident in those areas, who are probably from even neighboring countries, coming in to carry out attacks. And that in itself opens up the issue beyond what we ordinarily look at as a local issue to issues of terrorism. And that is why we're happy that we have a very capable national security advisor who is being able to navigate and coordinate the security agencies.
You keep talking about the NSA, forgetting that the governor is also the chief security officer of the state. I'm hearing some say that Governor Mutfwang is doing so well that is consolidating his political, standing in Plateau, and that's a threat for your party, the APC.
Not necessarily.
How do you respond in 1 minute?
We want peace, and we want to also commend him for doing his best to ensure there is peace, because at the end of the day, if you don't have peace, you cannot even talk about people doing the politics. So it's a joint effort. And what we are saying is the efforts that are being done is why I mentioned the National Security Advisor is that the military, the police, who controls them, it's federally controlled and funded. So it means that whoever coordinates at the federal level is the one that has the greatest impact that can make.
There are also what they call other strategies apart from carrying arms, which the governor must oversee, addressing what the communal issues are, talking to stakeholders, ensuring that the debates are resolved and that government is paying attention. We're hoping to see more of that being done in the coming days and, lasting and sustainable peace back on the plateau. Thank you so much for talking to us on the program this evening. Yakubu Datti is former General Manager, Public Affairs, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, and former Commissioner of Land, Survey and Information. Did I get that?
So at different times.
At different times. Oh, at different times. So it's a good way to put it. Thank you so much for coming. Hopefully you'll come again.
I hope so.
That's our show today, everyone. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. I'll be back at 7 p.m. with a more comprehensive bulletin.